Okay, so let me share my screen. Um, okay, so I believe you guys can see my screen. All right, so today I'm going to teach you guys how to import some stuff like using Coral, and I'm also going to explain, trying to dissect the Coral and the structure of the URL to you. What? You may have to rejoin. Okay, so I'm going to try and break down the structure of the Coral to you, and also to let you guys know how you can use Corals different times. So first of all, right, let me go to this website. This is it. Glorious.cu. Okay, so you guys see this website, right? Then there's some documentation here. And if I come down, right, you see where it's written here, Coral, right? Now, on your Postman, right, if you go to the code part, right, let me just check for the order book. And there's no. So if I come to order a book and then I click on this, this code icon here, right? You see Coral. This Coral is just this is the core representation of this code. And there are different representations of the code. I mean, there are different ways. I mean, this code can be translated into different languages, right? But this is just the Coral, and most times you see the Coral being used. So from the Coral, right, you see that this location stuff is the header. That's like this URL here. Then in some places you see /h, in other places you see header written here, which means that all the content they're supposed to pass in the header. Then you now see things like data, which means like this, like the body, right? The request body. Some other places you see things like /p. Maybe those are like params that you need to pass under these params, please. And like from the fundamentals, I told you that this is if it's like a GET request, you would most likely pass some params here that helps you to query your data. Remember I said that GET request is just like a query. And then sometimes you have to customize your query. If you want to get all the human beings, if you have an endpoint that's to get all human beings, sometimes you want to say, okay, you want to get only men. Sometimes you say you want to get only women. It's like the way that we did in this simple books. There was a place to get all types of books or something. So that's like what I'm trying to teach you guys today. So if I go back to this stuff, right, from here, you can see my Coral. You can see that this /h means that is header. And these things go, whenever you hear key value pair, this is what it means. This is the key, this is the value, right? So like on your Postman, maybe like on your headers, right? You see things like key and value. So most times in your Postman, you'll be seeing things that are going like key value, key value, key value, right? So I mean, almost everywhere you see things that when once you just say key, that's just like the variable name. Value is the actual variable value. So you can see that this is a key here, this of value. This other one, this is the key, content type. The value is application JSON. This other one, the key is authorization. And then they're giving you some text here. So wherever you see this /h, oh sorry, -h, it means that all this stuff is going to be passed in the header, right? They now go ahead to write this X get, which means that this is a get request. And then now passing the URL for you. So in different ways, right? This thing can be written. Some other people write it different ways. Like the one I wrote on Postman is a bit different from the one I wrote here. But what I'm trying to show you is that just the flags, right? You have headers, you have a body, and you have the request type, right? Like this one on Postman, you don't know the request type, whether it's a post or a get request. But from the way you look at it, right, you might most likely guess whether it's a get request or whether it falls into a request that needs a body. So that is number one about curl request. I just wanted to show you guys. So if I copy this curl, right, on Postman, you can import curls. So let me do it this way. Import. So like the way you import your files and all that, you can import a curl request. See here is written a paste curl. So if I paste this curl, it will process and then bring in the request on me. So it's processing the request, the curl I passed in there, and it's creating a request for me with all the things I need. So you see, it has created a request for me and automatically imputed all those things, like all those headers that I wanted, right? See them here. You know, like Postman has his own Conk 7 default headers, but then these are the additional ones I need. And these additional ones don't really, I mean, they're almost here too. Like this accept is, okay, this other one is different, but these are the values that you brought in with these three extra headers. This BRR token, this is not the real value. I'll have to like get a token and pass it here. Just like when you log in and all that, you get is these things token, but they are just telling you the type of token, the type of authorization that you use here. That is a BRR token. So whenever you're performing your test, different types of authorizations will be used, but BRR token is like a very common type of token that you use. So that is step one. I'll try and create a folder because this request, whenever I bring in any request, it doesn't have any folder, just a normal request. It's for fun. So I'll just try and create a folder, just see a new, sorry, a collection. And just create a new collection that I want to put it inside. I'll rename this to be Go Rest. So if I come to the request, I want to save it. I don't know. If I come to the request, I want to save it. Once I click on Control S or I click on save here, it asks me where I want to save this request to. I want to save it to Go Rest. I've saved it. So the request is now under Go Rest. I can now go ahead and maybe like edit, change the heading. So this is users. Like this, like to get all users. Let me just say get all users. Okay, cool. Now, from the documentation that was written here, right? If you, whenever you have, just like the way you on simple books, you guys are given the documentation. APIs normally have documentation, but some the higher you like when you start testing, you discover that some of these developers don't write proper documentation, which means you might have a hard time trying to like understand what the endpoints are doing. Which means that whenever you're given an API documentation, sometimes, most times, you need the developer to just walk you through if the documentation they're given to you is not explicit enough. So this is just like a sample place you can test your endpoints and everything. So I'm going to like, these are the resources that they're trying to like show you. These are the different resources. They say to get all the users, this is the endpoint, to get all posts, all comments, and all to-dos. And they're giving you samples right here. For example, if you want to get all posts, you need to say public v2, users, then you now pass in bit. Okay, sorry, I think this is different. It's different to get all posts, get all comments, and get all to-dos. But if you're trying it out, you can get a single, you can create a user. So this is what they wrote, a create user. This one is to get a single user. Sorry, let me see. Then to get a single user, that means you need to pass the user's ID, particular user that you created. Then it's to update the user, so you can see the put or a patch. Then to delete the user, right? So this is just for users. Then we can have for posts, right? I think we can have for posts. If I click on posts, I don't know if the documentation is true. So it's just showing me like a JSON structure. but I'm sure we can have almost the same structure that we're having here for users for posts too. You can create your post, get a single post, maybe update a post and also delete a post. Okay, so now they are asked, they now say, do not post your personal data because this is just like for testing and all that. Then they now said, for page results, like you want to do pagination, like you want to return your results page by page, you can add a param. So this is the param that's telling you that you can add in your get request. You can add a param like this, and the max is 100 results per page. That's the highest you can go. Now they say for request methods, all this one, all this one needs access token, which needs to be passed with authorization header as a bearer token. So remember I said that there are different types of authorization. They're saying that the authorization needs to be passed as a bearer token. So I'll show you guys different types of authorization. Then they're now showing you these are the different API versions. So this was like maybe like the first version they released. They have a second version, and then they have a third version. So just like when you have like just like the way your WhatsApp is updating, right? So these are like different versions. So now they're saying that this is where you can get your access token, right? And let me click on this. Let me open a new tab. This way you can get your access token, which they said that you need an access token to call all these endpoints. So I'll come here and then I need to like sign up or something. You say you should log in or something. So I'll just do Google so that I can be like really fast here. I think I've like signed up on this thing before. All right, so you see now I have my access token and it said that it never expires, right? So I think I can always get an annual access token if I want. So I'll just copy my access token here. So you see the way I'm just going, like all these things in the documentation. So I cannot like have it wrong. I'm just putting documentation as we're all on this call. So I am going to go and try some of these endpoints that they posted here. But for you guys, right? Why remember that the type of APIs that we're dealing with are REST APIs. So you can have the different corals for each of these requests. So to create user, to update user, to delete user, the coral is here for you for your REST API. Don't go and copy GraphQL because we're not using GraphQL, right? So you can copy all these corals and import them like you want to do sharp job. Just be importing the coral into your whatever. So I will try and so let me first of all let me create a request from scratch using this Coral without importing it. So I'll come and I'll do add request. Then let me go and first of all copy. So what's the first thing? They said the header. I need to copy this header, which is things not allowing me to copy like this. It's not allowing me to copy like that. So what I want to show you guys, I can never show you guys. It's not allowing me to copy the way I want to copy it. But from the explanation, this is supposed to be header, header, another authorization header. Then this is the URL. As you can see, now it's now saying post. See, X post. You now put in the URL. It's now saying data, which is now the payload. All these things are now inside the payload. Right. So since they're not allowing me to copy, I'll just like import it. Since I can't, copy that way. So I'll just import it. And remember, when you import, it is not going under any specific folder or collection. It's just importing it's like an orphan request. So once you import it, right, you now need to save it under a specific thing. So I'll just click on Control S or click on this save. And it's asking me I want to save it. So it's already suggesting that I can save it under Go Rest. And I'll also say save. So you see it added here. I'll go ahead and rename it. Well, let me copy my, okay, I already copied my access token. So I want to like perform, I'm going to like perform a request. Like I'm going to like send a request here. Let me try this get all users, right? I don't know why my internet is really stolen today. Really, really stolen. So let me try this get all users. If I call this endpoint, says invalid token because I'm not passing my token. Like I'm not passing a valid value for my token. I specified the header, which is authorization, but I'm not passing a valid token. So that's why it's saying invalid token. So I must pass in a valid one. Now, before I go into the tokens, I told you guys I'm going to show you guys different types of authorization. So if it comes to your authorization, right? Authorizations are always passed under your like with your headers, right? But it's just that authorization is like is quite heavy on its own. That is why Postman created a different, section for it. For authorizations normally, right? When you're sending your request, they come under the header. I remember what I told you. The structure of your request is header, sorry, is request and response. Under the request, you have header and body, response, header and body. So anything that's not going under the header is definitely going under the body. See? So your authorization is going with the headers. In case they ask you tomorrow, you know what to say. Authorizations are going with the headers. Now, the different types of authorization. So the way this thing is showing like this is because Postman already like identifies this go rest endpoint like a popular endpoint already. That's why it's already showing that you can go here and generate your your token. But you won't see like that in all your endpoints. In fact, if you go to simple books, you won't see that thing like this. You just see from here down. So this is under the authorization. You see, I have here type. The different types of authorization, and this authorization they have to tell you in documentation what type of authorization it is, or you ask your developer, right, what type of authorization it is. So you can choose from here. Apart from like BR token, another like popular one that you might see is basic authentication, which you need to pass your username and password. When you pass this username and password, it will be encoded and sent in the header. But you can note that one down and then I'll explain it to you in another class. But then we'll stick with BR token, right? And this one is just, taking something from somewhere else. I'll just pass in my BR token that I had copied, see it here, I pass it here. Now this BR token I passed, you will see that it's automatically shown in the header. See, and I cannot edit it. I cannot edit it because the value is coming from here. So it will not allow me to edit it here like that. So I have one authorization and I have another one. So I'll just unclick this one so that I can go. But so you see, I'm trying to edit it. It's not editing. I'm clicking many things on my computer. It's not edit because the value is coming from here. All the same, I can also say, I can also decide to choose no authorization. I'll come here and come and manually input it myself. Maybe it is just input the bearer and then the token. So I'll allow the bearer to be in front. Then I'll just paste down my token here. Either ways works, but as a beginner, just use this authorization part. If you get stronger, then you can be doing this thing. You can be doing it this way. So bearer tokens always go with the name bearer, space, then a bunch of token here. So if I send this request now, you should see that it should be successful. So you see now it's successful because I've sent a valid authorization. So remember, as I taught you guys the other time, watch. Sorry, I didn't see this. It is going with an authorization. What authentication is it using? Let me edit this guy. So I've edited it, and then I'm sure maybe Postman was caching the authentication somewhere. But remember that what I was telling you guys about your HTTP status. It's showing 401 unauthorized. So from this 401, if you're an experienced tester, you already know that something is wrong with your authorization, right? So you can just quickly reach out to the developer and say, oh, I need a valid authorization value, or how can I generate an authorization token, or what kind of authorization do I need for this request? So I'll return it to the normal request and stuff. Okay, so that is item number one. So you can see all your whatever. Now, the main complicated thing I want to teach you in this class is how to write your, I'll just teach you how to write like basic tests. But then after teaching you guys how to write basic tests, the next class I'll teach you how to programmatically store your variables as I've taught you. So there are there are Postman snippets here, and all these snippets can help you to validate tests. So why do we use Postman? Apart from like manually testing, right? The goal is to like kind of automate most of these tests such that you don't need to be every time come and clicking on this send. So that's like the end goal, to automate your test. So now what what are the things when you're automating your test, the things that you need to validate, right? You have to validate that this is this. For example, now if this request is successful, that means we're going to get a 200 error HTTP code instead of a 401 or any other code. So I can just come to my snippet and look for where I say status code. Code is 200. Let me increase my font. Code is 200. I'll just click on it. And once I click on it, to automatically populate here, right? Now, what you need to know is that this text, this thing that is under the string here is responsible, is for giving your test a name. The same way you say verify this is the same way that this is. So you can always come here and just edit it. Verify that status is 200, right? But make sure it is always inside this double quotes. It makes it a string. So this one is just the name of your test. Nothing too spectacular. The real test is this. So this is the logic that is responsible for your test, which means as in PM, which is Postman. Then is a Postman response to have status of 200. So all these are methods that have been written in Postman to help you, write your test properly. Now, let's say I want to validate that. Let me see if this name is still going to be the same. So let me say I want to validate that the ID here is this, which I mean, it may change you, but I don't know. I'll just come and say, I'll choose this JSON value check, right? If I click this, all I need to do is this first line of code is trying to tell me that it is picking all the response that I get from this request and is keeping it as a JSON in a JSON format, but it is storing it inside this variable called JSON data. So wherever I call JSON data, that means I'm calling everything in my response body as like in a JSON format. Remember I said again, this code is taking my response and keeping it as a JSON format. But because I don't want to be writing this long thing every single time, I'll just store the value inside this smaller one called JSON data, right? Now, anywhere I call JSON data, it is this guy. And this guy is everything that is in my response body. So they're trying to say that my response body should have a value that is equal to 100. So the value here is where you pass this key, and equal is you are validating the value here. So if I want to pass in ID here, I will just say this particular response starts with an array. So I'll first of all reference the array, which I'll teach you, for not now, maybe next class teach you. So I'll reference the array, which is the first array there. Then we now have the first JSON. So I'll say dots ID. So I'll now say ID, which is this ID, should be equal to this. So I have two tests here. So let me just change this one to verify ID. So you see that in my test result, I don't have any test result because I just wrote these two tests now. But if I should run it, I should have a test result now. So you see, both of them are pass. That means that my two tests pass. So I can, so you see how I am able to run some validation with code. I don't need to come and be manually looking at it with my eyes. You can use your head to structure the kind of things that you want to check under this response. And then when you call the response, this code runs and validates all that you wrote here. If I change this 200 to 202, you see that it will fail. Because why is it failing? See, if I come here, see, it says verify that status is 200. It says assertion error. Expected response to have status of 202, but got 200. So it's saying that me, I expected it to be 202. So that's what I wrote. But what actually came back was 200. So it's failed. But see that I didn't touch my verify ID. So my verify ID is still correct. So um I'll have to choose a class to teach you guys how to this how to manipulate and enter into this JSON response is going to be like a whole class, like it's going to be like a whole 30 minutes class. So, but I want you guys to, play around with some of these snippets, try and use some of them. But then I think tomorrow we should have a class. So I'll teach you how to enter into the structure of any JSON. And I'm going to use the same collection so that it will be clear to you. I'll use this collection and I'll use our simple books collection. So is there anybody that has any question based on like what I've demoed so far? Because I'm going to show you guys a recording so you can watch again and then assimilate what I just to you guys. Is there anybody that has any question now? Okay. So that is all for today. I just want you guys to go and watch the video. Try out other snippets here. So there are other snippets that are here from, let me show you. From what you see is status code 200. You can try all the way down to maybe status code name string. But you can leave out the rest. You can leave out all these set environment variable and everything. We'll go through all of them. From this status code, you can come to all of them. For example, this one that says response, this one that says response body contains a string. That means there should be in your response body, there should be a word that matches whatever you pass. So let me try it. I've clicked on it and the snippet has populated for me here. Let's say I'm looking for whether it is key or value, anyone. Let me say I'm looking for this one, ready, right? I'll just pass ready here. And if I run this request, see that this one that says body matches string, it passed. If I should pass Alice, see, it fails because there's no Alice in the whole response body. There's no Alice. So even if I should pass, like, I think gender, so you see gender pass because there's gender here. So this particular one is if you just want to validate that anything in the response body matches that particular string. Or I mean, most testers don't use it because it is very, very loose, right? If I'm trying to validate your name, maybe I'm trying to validate that customer name is this, and I can't pass this kind of thing. What if the developer made a mistake and said, went and wrote customer name under email and wrote email under customer name? So most times, most testers don't like using this particular one. We like to validate using the key and the value. So we must say that its name must be equals to the actual name because developers can make some mistakes when they are mapping them. I even going to say that the name will carry the value of ID and put on that name. You understand? So this is now an issue. You can now say if you now come and use this one that says matches string, of course you see the name, but where you put the name was in the wrong place. And if the front end developer is trying to like consume this endpoint, When a developer will go and use name now, maybe they wanted to say hello Joel. Meanwhile, they carry the ID and went and put in name, carry the name and put on that ID. The front-end developer will now say, when the response come back, please get me the name and display to the user. So instead of it saying maybe hello Shwet, it's now should say hello 685 blah, 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 blah. And then they now start shouting and then say, but we tested these endpoints now. So you have to make sure that the key and the value are, they are working together. Or maybe on your app, they say, what's your gender? And they went and carried inactive and wrote there and say your gender is inactive. It's not, I mean, it's just if you use this particular snippet, it should have passed, right? Because it's just checking if you have anything called mail. But the mail was not under the right key. It was under the wrong key. Maybe they carried mail and went and wrote under the person status. So it's always good to use like this one that I used here, where I said the ID must be equal to this one. You understand? So, oh, that is it, right? So in our next class, we will talk about some other things. Okay. So